All right, let's get into it. I want to talk about what might be the single most important piece of hardware in modern history. And no, it's not a computer chip, it's not a smartphone, it's the engine. And really understanding how it came to be, well, that's fundamental to everything you'll ever design or build. This is the story of the engine that changed our world. But before we get into all the mechanics, I want you to run a little simulation in your own heads, just for a second. Erase every engine, every motor, every automated system you can possibly think of. I want you to imagine a world that is powered only by muscle. So what does that world look like? Well, for starters, there are no factories, no mass production. Every single object, from a simple nail to the shirt on your back, is crafted by hand, slowly, painstakingly, one at a time. And getting around? Forget about cars or planes. There aren't even any trains. The entire world moves at the speed of a horse. A trip that takes us a few hours today would have been this epic journey that could last days, maybe even weeks. And that's really the key thing to grasp here. For pretty much all of human history, progress had a hard limit, a power ceiling. It was defined by muscle, wind, and water. If you wanted to do more, you just needed more people or more animals or a lucky gust of wind. That was the box we were all living in. So that was the world. A world just waiting for some kind of breakthrough, a way to totally shatter that power ceiling. And this brings us to the very specific problem that would finally force the issue: flooded mines. Okay, so what was the big problem that kickstarted this whole new age? Well, one of the biggest challenges was in mining. See, as miners dug deeper and deeper for the coal that was just starting to fuel society, the mines would constantly, and I mean constantly, fill up with water. And getting that water out, it was a backbreaking, relentless, and super inefficient job. So here's where things stood. On one side, you've got pure manual labor. Slow, exhausting, you get the picture. And on the other, you had the first real attempt at a mechanical solution, the Newcomen engine. Now, it was a step forward, don't get me wrong, a total game changer for its time, but man, it was a clumsy giant. It basically worked by brute force, wasting enormous amounts of heat and just guzzling fuel. It was a solution, sure, but it wasn't an elegant one. And, that difference between a working solution and an elegant one, that's absolutely critical. It takes a different kind of mind to see past brute force. And this brings us to that spark of insight, that moment when someone totally reimagined what was even possible. This is where a young Scottish instrument maker named James Watt steps onto the scene. And here's the thing that made him different. When he was given a model of a Newcomen engine to repair, he saw something that everyone else just ignored. They saw a machine that, worked. He saw a system that was fundamentally, deeply inefficient. He didn't just fix the problem in front of him. He questioned the very design that was causing the problem in the first place. I love this quote because it just perfectly captures his genius. He wasn't just trying to build a better version of the old thing, he reimagined it from the ground up, from first principles. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest leap forward isn't a totally new invention, but just a new way of looking at an old one. So what was his big idea? It was something called the separate condenser. See, the old Newcomen engine wasted a mind-boggling amount of energy because it used the same cylinder for both the hot steam and the cold water spray. You're constantly heating and cooling this giant piece of metal. It's just inefficient. Watt's insight was so elegant. He basically said, wait a minute, why are we doing both things in the same place? He decided to keep the main cylinder hot all the time and do the cooling, the condensing part, in a totally separate container. Now, this might sound simple, but it was absolutely revolutionary. It stopped all that wasteful heating and cooling, and it quadrupled the engine's efficiency. It was faster, way more powerful, and vastly cheaper to run. But as you all know, a brilliant idea on a piece of paper is just the start. The real test is actually making it happen. And this was Watt's crucible, the long, hard struggle to create a breakthrough. Believe me, this was not an easy road. He faced intense doubt from all the experts of his day. Of course, that skepticism made getting money incredibly difficult. He was pretty much always on the verge of going broke. And all of that meant that his progress was just agonizingly slow. We're talking years of setbacks and failures. It all really comes down to this one core challenge for any innovator. Every great invention starts as doubt in someone else's mind and belief in your own. You have to be the one to hold on to that vision, especially when nobody else can see it. That kind of perseverance, that's what separates a good idea from a world-changing one. But he did it. He persevered. And when his engine was finally perfected, the impact was just staggering. It literally became the heartbeat of progress, powering a completely new world. And the impact of this engine, it just scaled up exponentially. At first, it powered small workshops, replacing water wheels and animals. But from there, it enabled the rise of massive factories, entire industries built around this new, reliable power source. And then finally, it became mobile, powering the trains and steamships that shrunk the world and connected economies in a way that had never been possible before. So in the end, Watt's engine did way more than just move pistons and turn wheels. It fundamentally changed the pace and the scale of human life itself. It literally moved civilization forward, laying the very foundation for the industrial world we know today. So what's the big takeaway for us right here, right now, as engineers and builders? What's the real lesson we can learn from the engine? I think it really boils down to three things. First, it starts with learning to see what other people just ignore, that accepted flaw, that thing that's just good enough. Second, it's about focusing on improving what's already there. Innovation isn't always about starting from scratch. And maybe most importantly, it's about having the grit, the resilience, to refuse to give up when no one else believes in you. That's your most valuable tool, right there. And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. Greatness doesn't come from creating something new. It comes from improving what the world already has. Look, Watt didn't invent steam power. He perfected it. He took this clumsy, brute force machine and turned it into the engine of a revolution. So, whenever you're working on your own projects, I want you to think of James Watt. Think of a man who looked at a solution that already existed and knew with every fiber of his being that it could be better. He didn't invent the steam engine, but he's the one who made it powerful enough to change the world. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. The world is absolutely full of good enough solutions. And that drive to see past them, to refine, to perfect, and to improve, that is the heart of engineering. That is what creates breakthroughs. The next one could be yours.